So somebody asked me to do a review of my Krieger Armory Sentinel. This is specifically the Fiore version, which makes it a couple inches shorter. Despite the fact that I train Ringex longsword, I'm only 5'7", 170 centimeters tall, so I just don't tend to favor swords that come higher up, that are longer. So like the difference of a couple of inches, it's not like it makes or breaks everything for me, but I tend to prefer some sort of action that brings me in close, that then I can wind and deliver a thrust from. So I find that goes off a little bit easier with a shorter sword. I find it lets me get in a little bit closer with a shorter sword. So that's why I went with the short one. As to what I feel about this sword in particular, I mean, one, I've had it for a year, so it's a little beat up, but it is a gorgeous sword. It is absolutely beautiful. At the time that I bought this, I want to say it was just over $500. Ooh, I do a little bit of sword maintenance there, but it was just over $500 at the time that I picked it up, which is not a ridiculous price for something that looks this good. I am a little here or there about whether or not it is worth it to pay for the aesthetic. My feeling is if you are picking up your first sword to train with, that going out and spending $500-$600 on a Krieger US or an Albion is probably overkill for your first sword. It's not to say I have any problems with those makers, but I think you should probably get something a little more entry level. My minimum baseline is going to be a Regnier standard or short, depending on the length preference you have, and a medium or light flex. I think you're going to be really hard pressed to be upset about anything for that, for the price point and for the durability and the reputation that comes along with the Regniers. So far, I have had the opportunity to handle 3 Krieger US swords. My personal Sentinel Fiore, a Clubmates Sentinel Fiore, and a Clubmates Spectre. I think the fit and finish on them has all been gorgeous. They're absolute dreams. All of us dorky kids that grew up and wanted to be Aragorn and carry, Lord, I'm failing my nerd check here. Glamdring is what Gandalf used. The sword that was broken. Okay, anyway, but point being, right, if you want a totally sick looking sword that is absolutely functional and has put up with at least a year, right, going to a competition with it, weekly bouts in my personal club, I think there's very little to complain about in terms of the sword itself. There's some really nitpicky details about, like, when they machine the fullers. Like, if you look very, very closely, you can see where the end mill lifted off, which I'm not a machinist, but I get the feeling that means that end mill was maybe a little bit dull or something like that, but that's really nitpicky detail. From this far away, you can't see any of those tiny machining details, so who cares ultimately? I found the durability to be really good. This goes up against Albion Myers, like I said, a couple other Kriegers, Regnier shorties and standards, some Shablowski fetters, and it does totally well against them. I never feel held back by anything going on with my sword. Now, I do want to talk about the thing that I have found that limits me the most in making this is just an all-out recommendation. Go get it. One, the price is not insignificant. You're spending a lot of money, maybe not the most money, but you're spending, compared to some other like purely functional options, you're spending a fair amount of money. And I feel like the worst part of this sword was the customer experience ordering it. I want to cut a lot of slack, because I placed my order. Oh, let's see. I have to do some math going backwards here. It would have been. Would have been the summer of 2022. So there's still a lot of COVID stuff going on at that time. It's, I know that there's a few things going on internally at the company that they made me aware of, but all told, if I remember correctly, this didn't ship for at 15 months, which is a long time to wait. That is enough time for you to quit the hobby, frankly. So in that time frame, there was what I feel to be insufficient communication about where we were in the process and how many people are ahead of me and this sort of thing. I hate to do it. I worked customer service for a long time, and I try to be really, really kind to everybody there. But in order to get an answer, I had to be a little bit mean, to get like a firm detail. And I did look. I was patient. I didn't get to that point until I'd been waiting 12 months on, at the time, was a 3 to 6 month listed waiting period when I placed the order. So I feel like I gave them plenty of opportunity there. So that's the biggest problem that I had, is just the sheer wait time. Hopefully everything's humming along nicely there. I know they added a bunch of staff and then moved to a larger facility, and that ate up a bunch of their overhead, their extra time. Hopefully that's all sorted out and they have everything humming along nicely. I know that their lead time estimate on their website has been bumped up to 8 to 12 months. That seems totally possible based on my experience and the experience of my friend who earlier this year received his Spectre from them. I think he was in the 13 or 14 month range. So, that's so long as they're telling you what's going to happen and, the delays aren't egregious beyond that, I think that's totally fair. I was just a little bit frustrated, because of the lead time that was on the website from when I placed the order and then the obvious, pretty substantial inflation that happened. I don't want to end on that note though. Like I said, I really, really like this sword. I like my friend Spectre. I like my other friend's Sentinel Fiore. I've really liked it. I don't have anything bad to say about the weapon itself. I think the point of balance is reasonable. I don't think it hits too hard. I don't think it flexes too hard. I don't think the durability is bad. I don't think the fit and finish is bad. I think it is a gorgeous sword and one that you can happily swing for probably, several years after you buy it. But if it's your first sword, probably not my recommendation. Uh, if you guys have questions or concerns, you're feel free to send me a comment, or I'm always online at the big HEMA Discord. If you Google HEMA Discord, it's the community for the WMA Reddit. I'm on there all the time. You'll see me. YouTube is probably not the best way to get in contact with me, but thanks. Bye.